Jackson on the drive, kicks it out for man. Man, three-pointer, bang! Oh, what a man!
Magic down the middle, just what I thought. A hook shot at 12, good!
Here's Michael at the foul line, a shot on Elo,
Good! The Bulls win! They win it!
Now there's a steal by Bird, underneath the DJ,
Going up over Bell, ball away. Yes! Yes! At the buzzer, he does it! Was there ever a doubt? A Smith screen, Posey will defend.
Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life!
It's a physical game.
Oh, real God! A monster jam by Blake Griffin!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another post-game live here for the 2022-23 playoffs on Dime Dropper. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you know every single time we go live for all NBA history, and LA sports content. And, of course, you can also listen to this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, all your favorite podcasting platforms. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Dime Dropper Pod. As we are here live in Los Angeles after a Game 2 loss for my Clippers against the Phoenix Suns here in this first round. We'll also be talking about the Cavs and the Knicks Game 2 that took place in Cleveland tonight, and it was a similar situation. Cleveland and Phoenix both losing the first game at home, having to win both 4-5 matchups. Apologies to all my Celtics fans, especially my good folk out in the East Coast, my UMass people, my Minutemen, Minutewomen. I will not be able to get to the Celtics game because there were 3 games tonight, so I didn't get to watch them all. I will be watching the Celtics game after this, and we'll talk about it on tomorrow's live after Lakers, Grizzlies, and Minnesota versus Denver. Probably will not be able to talk about Miami and Milwaukee much, but we'll see what I can do. And shout out to everybody in the live tonight. Super chats are turned on if you want to drop $1 or a dime. Any donation helps. You already know what to do. But let's get right into it. The Clippers losing this one to the Phoenix Suns in a game in which I think the Suns, it took them a while because they were really sloppy in the beginning of the game, turning the ball over. And it took them a while, but in the second half, you started to see why this Phoenix Suns team is being picked by so many people to go so far in terms of their shot making. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, sometimes they just make shots that other guys don't usually make. They make tough shots. You know, it was kind of there. The Clippers were playing pretty well. They were doing enough. They came out with the right defensive intensity, I thought, to stay in the game. Kawhi Leonard was really good. Russell Westbrook was really good. But ultimately, I think that the Clipper role players did not show up tonight. And I'm not going to lie, before the series, I didn't think I would be saying much that Kawhi Leonard and Russ would play great and the Clippers would still lose because all their role players didn't play well. But I got a stat for you. The role players out, you know, basically every single player outside of Kawhi and Russell Westbrook combined shot 15 for 44 from the field. 15 for 44. That is no good. I don't got the exact percentage off the top of my head, but that is no good. So we are going to need much better, especially in a game in which the Suns starters all played fantastic. I mean, that's 35%. So in a game in which the Suns starters all played fantastic, you know, I don't think there's that much you can do when your role players don't play that well. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people talking about Ty Lue. He took a lot of heat on Twitter tonight. The Hive, you know, I don't want to say the Hive because I've been part of the very critical people about Ty Lue this season, but I don't really think that applies in this game for this reason. He stayed with what worked in game 1, and that was to play a 9-man rotation with Bones, Mason, Terrence, and Norm coming off the bench. He was staggering Russ and Kawhi, which meant that at some point he had Russ, Bones, Norm, and Terrence in. Now, I know what you're thinking. Terrence at the 4, 3 guards. Didn't you say you shouldn't have Bones, Norm, and Russ in at the same time before the series? You said that. Didn't you, Dime? Didn't you, Darian? You said that? I did say that. But I also said that Russell Westbrook should come back in the game or shouldn't come back in the game in the fourth quarter of game 1. And guess what Ty Lue did? He put him back in. He had that trust in him, and it paid off. So Ty Lue was 1-0. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And I personally don't think that that's the biggest reason we got crushed. What everybody's referring to is the 4 guards, or I don't count Terrence Mann as a guard. I count him as a wing because we use him as that, and he plays like a wing, a slasher, athletic guy that guards number 1 options kind of thing. So I don't really consider him a shooting guard. If I had to pick his position, it would probably be small forward. But anyway, he can play anything between 1 through 3. Now, when you get to him playing the 4, then that's a little bit much. You don't want him to be your second tallest guy. But that being said, the Suns, you know, besides Ayton or Biyombo, they weren't really running with any big wings until the second half, where what really hurt the Clippers was they weren't messing around the Suns. They played Devin Booker 45 minutes, and they played Kevin Durant 44 minutes. So the minutes that those two have logged in these first two games are a lot. We'll take that personally. I think, they're in pretty good shape. They probably won't get like super worn down or anything. But in terms of fatigue factor, I think that they're probably in the worse spot than we are. For them to play that many minutes just to win a game 2, I think mission accomplished tonight, man. I really, and you might think, oh, look at this fucking loser, man. Thinks a loss is okay. It's not that a loss is okay. It's that I didn't expect us to steal 2 games without Paul George against a team with Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton on it. Sue me. We're not picked to win this series. I want everybody to keep perspective. A lot of people are freaking freaking out way too much. Guys, I know that's ironic coming from me, the rager, the spammer, the rager. Hey, Mr. Rager. That's all I can fucking think of right there. But look, I'm smiling because we got what we came for. We got what we came for. All I said was, don't do what the Knicks did tonight. Sorry to my Knicks fans. Show up and make them work. We had Kevin Durant and Devin Booker playing 40-plus minutes. Could we have done some things differently? Yes, but I just don't think this was the one. D-Book and Kevin Durant were hitting everything in the second half. Kawhi can't guard every single one of them. They were killing the drop coverage. Now, that goes back to Ty Lue. Let's start with the 4 guards thing. As I said, it worked in game 1. The problem was that first little 2.5-minute stretch in the fourth quarter, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker were still in, and we had Kawhi out, and they went up by 11. Chris Paul started getting hot. He started getting to his right. And again, you've seen it in this series. I think Chris Paul's only made 2 shots going to his left in the first 2 games, and they were both full stop, basically open. Everything else, the contested ones, they're all going to his right. So we've read the scouting report. We've done a pretty good job thus far with him, but he had a really good second half. He really did. But Devin Booker was just, you can argue he was the best player on the floor in this game. But I still think Kawhi Leonard has been the best player on the floor through two games. I think on both ends, I think you get to realize the weight that he's carrying and how many good shots he's creating. I think he was let down by his teammates tonight. I truly do. And Russell Westbrook came to play. I also think Terrence Mann was pretty good. And honestly, if I had to say anything about Ty Lue, it's that same thing. He didn't play Terrence Mann enough. 26 minutes. He was 3 for 3, made both his threes tonight, 10 points. He was playing really good defense on Chris Paul, especially in the second quarter. I think he deserved more minutes. So I think he stuck with Eric Gordon too long in a game in which it was the bad Eric Gordon defensively tonight. He just didn't sit in a stance at all. He didn't really fight through screens. There were times where he just kind of gave up on the play, and that hurt us. And offensively, he wasn't good. He was good from 3, though, 4 for 9. But some of them were not only just wide open that he should have made. Inside the arc, he was no good, and he ended up shooting 33% from the field overall, 33% on 4 for 12 shooting. So we're going to need better from EJ. I also think Norman Powell, I talked about him before the series, averaging 18 to 20 points efficiently, and I thought that's what we were going to need to win the series. The first one was Kawhi playing like the best player in the series. He's done that the first 2 games. He's done his part. Norman and Russell Westbrook has done his part for me. He's had a really solid first 2 games. Norman Powell, though, needs to be better. Because here's the thing about the Suns. Their bench is nothing. I was right that they were going to put in TJ Warren in this game. And I was right in the episode I did with Locked On Clippers yesterday that they were going to run KD off way more off-ball actions to free him up. And they were going to try to get him the ball on the move and already, 18 feet and in. So he doesn't have to work too hard. Doesn't have to catch the ball behind the 3-point line so much. And Monty did that. A big thing is, guys, Monty adjusted. The onus was on the Suns. So you guys are getting way too mad, I think. Now, for the 4 guards thing, look, yeah, you're going to be at a disadvantage when you're playing 4 of your bench players against those guys. And, yeah, Bones Highland, Norman Powell, and Russell Westbrook, they're not the best defenders in the world. But Russell Westbrook's done a hell of a job on Kevin Durant so far through 2 games. He really has done a hell of a job. Man, my computer is way too hot right now because I can see the lag. My goodness, it is bad, huh? Let me know if it's lagging right now in the chat because my computer is lagging aggressively. I know the sound isn't lagging. My sound is fine. But the computer is lagging aggressively. So if you guys want me to, stop it and then come back for a second, let it cool down, we could. But I think it's looking a little bit better now. So let's keep on going. Let me know, though, in the chat if it's lagging or not. When I go to the stats, sometimes it can kind of lag. My computer's really hot. If anybody has any tips on how to let my computer cool down a little bit, because I just took so much stuff away from, I deleted a bunch of stuff off of it, then let me know because, oof, it's steaming. But let's continue, right? So overall, to me, then there's another, quarrel that people have. Why is Zubats continuously in drop coverage when KD and Devin Booker keep making these shots? Look, I think we actually did, besides Eric Gordon, a good job with the rear view contests. For whatever reason, though, Russell Westbrook, when he's guarding Chris Paul, he was just giving up on the screens. Whereas against Kevin Durant, he's playing like his life depends on it. And against Booker, he was a little bit better too, but I don't remember him guarding Booker too much, at least not in the action. We're getting put in the action when he was. But the Suns, another big thing about them is Torrey Craig has been absolutely ridiculous so far in the series. I mean, this fool's shooting like Rashard Lewis on the Magic right now. And honestly, look, obviously Kawhi Leonard is getting off on him, but I still think he's trying his best and not making it super easy for him. You saw a lot more loading up from the Suns tonight, not fully committing to the double team. And the Clippers, they didn't knock down shots. I thought Kawhi made the right decisions, made the right plays, moved the ball well enough. And at times he would even go away from the double team, away from the load up to get a shot off. And he did a decent job of that. That's why he still scored 31 points. But, when Torrey Craig is making everything, that forced us to adjust with Zoo going back on Ayton. And Ayton, was also making those push shots, those floaters, those mid-ranges, especially in the second quarter when we went to a zone. So he was hitting mid-range after mid-range there. However, at that point, we were pretty comfortable still. It was just that in the fourth quarter, basically every one of them started getting off. And it was a little too late. We cut it down to 8, and then Russ had 2 bad turnovers at the end. I'm not going to lie. Bad turnovers, good hands by Chris Paul. His defense was good at the end. Felt like he was starting to get more engaged as he was making shots late. And I know it's a weird feeling getting, seeing Chris Paul kind of take over late in the game because we saw that for so many years here in LA. And as I said, I still love the guy, but I want to beat him so bad. I want to beat this team so bad. And overall, guys, I'm not that impressed with them. Like, I get it. There was a feeling of helplessness with KD and Devin Booker tonight, but they had to play so well to win. And we were still in the game. We were still right there. And I don't think we even played well. And we're on the road. So, I don't know. I think that I would be more encouraged after these 2 games that we can win this series. More. I'm not saying we will. Of course, I picked us to win in 7 because I'm a Clipper fan, so I'm going to go with my squad. If I was not a Clipper fan, I would still be picking, whatever my original pick was if it was the Suns to win. But they're not that great, man. It's just that we don't have Paul George. So, one thing that was hurting us was Ty eventually did go small. He didn't want – because the thing about the drop coverage is that is what Zoo has excelled in all season. Everyone's saying, why didn't he adjust and all that? If he's going to adjust Zoo's defensive coverage, he will do that in the next game. He will do that in the next game because he thought that the looks that they were getting were still well contested enough. And I'm not going to lie, a lot of them were. Devin Booker is just that good. A lot of Clipper fans hate Devin Booker, and I get it. He complains a lot and all this. He's kind of soft. But this guy is one of the best shot makers in the league, one of the best scorers in the league today. And you need to show him respect in terms of what you expect from him and the shots that he's going to make. It's not just bad defense. He's going to make ridiculous shots. We had guys in his rear view, and he was hitting shots like falling away, 3 balls. But also, his life gets made easier now with Kevin Durant. And when we went to, Ty did go switch everything. He did go switch everything. EJ, Russ, Kawhi. But we still had too many, smaller defenders out there. And they were trying to put Eric Gordon, KD against Eric Gordon and various matchups like that. And Norman Powell as well. And then you saw them doubling. They moved the ball around. Chris Paul was doing a good job attacking. I wouldn't say he was doing a great job attacking the closeout, but he was knocking down shots. He was making plays. Torrey Craig was making everything. And then Devin Booker, him attacking the closeout. He can stop and pop for that mid-range, and it's tough. While we don't have another star attacking closeouts when the ball is moving and the defense is in rotation after doubling our other star. So that's the advantage the Suns have, and Clipper fans need to just come to terms with that. But we can still do things better as well. And one big criticism is that Robert Covington doesn't play when you want to go fully small. And that's something I think Tyler needs to lean into going for game 3. Bones Highland, I think that he has not been abused defensively. They tried to do it at the end of the third quarter, and again, he held his own. But he's going to need to make shots. And if he's not going to make shots, in this game, for example, he was 2 for 7 and 0 for 4 from 3. Just 14 minutes of play, though, for Bones. And he was still a plus based on the plus-minus when he came in the game. But if he's not going to be really good offensively, then there's an argument to be made for Rocco to play over him. If you want to just throw Rocco in there and play 10 guys, I don't know about that, because I would not play a total bench lineup against KD, Booker, or any combination of their starters in. That's just too risky, And this game, by the way, we got nothing from our centers. This was one of those games that the people that hate Zoo, this is where they get justified. He was weaker. He was slower. He just didn't seem like he was that engaged Zoo. He seemed like he was taken out of the game mentally. He was soft. He was losing the ball. He was bringing it down low, got stripped by Chris Paul. I mean, this just wasn't the Ivica Zubats that we've seen the majority of games this season. It was a soft Zoo, and Mason Plumlee was just kind of doing cardio out there. It was nothing like the game one Plumlee. They didn't really get rebounds. They didn't really deter anybody. It just wasn't a very good performance from the guys, and the Suns starters were fantastic. Just for reference, the Phoenix Suns starters combined for, my God, 110 points. They literally only got 13 points off the bench. Josh Okogie and Bismack Biyombo. 120 points from their starters, ladies and gentlemen. So if you think they're going to be able to do that every game, I mean, I don't know. They're going to probably get some more points from the bench, but that many points from the bench, it seems still like a tall task. As far as the Clippers, let's go through the sequence of the game. I thought that we came out the right way. I've been talking about our starts and our defensive intensity to begin games, and I thought we did really well with that. This time, though, EJ was on Book. Batum was on Chris Paul to start the game. I thought that was an interesting adjustment. Honestly, didn't like it. Would definitely go back to Batum guarding KD or something. Actually, no. Batum on Book and then slide EJ onto Chris. But now that I think about it, I know why they did that, because Chris Paul's going to be involved in more pick and roll actions, and I think Nico's a better screen navigator. So that may be what they're thinking there. But at the same time, fuck Chris Paul's looks. Like, Devin Booker is just more of a problem. So maybe in game 3, we start out with Nico guarding Devin Booker more as the primary defender, and then Russ on KD. I'm fine with the Russ on KD. Like, yeah, he scored like 2 or 3 times today one-on-one, turning the corner and going quick. And as I said, that was going to be a big point of emphasis for Monty, to get KD the ball, get into his spots, get him the ball closer to the basket where he can work quickly. And, at times later in the game, we kind of started loading up, and that's where I think KD struggles more than some other superstars. And when I mean other superstars, I mean other GOATs, like Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, those kind of guys. I think he can wait too long and just be a little indecisive. But when he gets the hard double, I think he makes the easier, quicker read. And so he was doing that, and they were getting good shots. I think Kawhi was doing a good job of showing how to destroy loading up as a mid-range sniper. You just work quickly and go away from it. And I've seen KD do that as well, but sometimes he can just be a little too, passive against the load up, in my opinion. But when he's got teammates like that, it's easy to just kind of just make the pass and hope for them to make a play. As far as the beginning, Russ, I thought, still did a really good job on KD. He blocked him from behind early, and he was just still doing a really good job defensively of, getting back in the play when he was getting over screens and finding a way to affect it, whether it be from the back tap or the block from behind. And unforced turnovers by the Suns were really keeping us in it, because even though Kawhi was seeing the load up and making the right pass, and both teams were guarding well, we weren't making our open threes. EJ did, again, start out the game hitting a couple threes. But one thing that really stuck out to me in the first quarter was Kawhi started guarding Kevin Durant at the end of the first, and KD looked like he saw a ghost. He tried to cross over, and Kawhi just snatched that shit. KD was riding his hip on the way back, and Kawhi just stiff-armed him and dunked. And then he was, putting pressure on him, getting over screens, getting chest to chest. And KD was looking to give up the ball real quick. Like, he didn't want none of that smoke. Oh, my God. Kawhi Leonard is showing that he is that dude up here, the alpha male, mentality-wise. Hey, man, I'm going to just say this. It's a big if. It's an if. But if we win this series, I'm taking 2 over 35 all time. Yes, I said it. Even with the lack of availability. I said it. If he wins. Right now, he's looking like the best player in the series, because people want to say all this, like, again, I always say this. It's, he's got no flaws. He can shoot from all over the court. You've seen him do everything, but it's not about that. It's how much you get out of your skill set and the confidence, the mentality. People that never played sports, though, think that confidence and mentality is not actually talk ball, bro. Actually talk ball. That's not proof. You can't prove that. man, basketball is not very black and white, my friend. And, these are played by human beings, not robots. I always want to emphasize that. And Kawhi Leonard is stone cold. He has a lot of confidence. And that's why he is who he is, besides the amazing skill and shot making. But anyways, the end of the first quarter, the Clippers, again, off to a solid start. They led it 29-24. And the second quarter, we go to our bench, and they did great. I thought this, outplayed the Suns bench. Norm got a couple of buckets. Obviously, we staggered Russ. But KD, he doesn't spend that much time on the bench. He came in just a little over 2 minutes into the second quarter. And, he was hitting shots, starting to get going. CP3, as far as him in the first half, he was funneled to his left and really got nothing because Terrence was locking him up. But we went to a zone because we went to that, the 3-guard set, and obviously Mason Plumlee. And the zone wasn't working. Ayton was knocking down shots in the high post. I don't know about that zone. I think we're doing that zone because we have 3 guys, 2 of which aren't really great at guarding, Norman Powell and Bones Highland. However, Norman Powell's defense in the first 2 games, in my opinion, has been pretty decent. It's been good enough for him. Mason Plumlee, however, isn't a good rim protector or a pick-and-roll big, and I think they're doing that to not make him play pick-and-roll defense. However, Ayton is a great mid-range player, so it's going to hurt anyway. The Clips took a 14-point lead at one point, and the bench mob was doing really well. Russ was fantastic. He was scoring on Devin Booker a lot in the first half, whether it be turning the corner on him, facing up with a quick cross, or backing down, shooting a one-legged fade. It was one time when he went right into his chest and scored. But KD and Devin Booker ended the second quarter well with just some great shot making, and they went to the break. I think we went to the break tied 59-59. And the third quarter for the second straight game was the ones where the Suns turned up the intensity. Big time on the defensive end. You started to see an adjustment. DeAndre Ayton wasn't dropping anymore. And I thought DeAndre Ayton on the defensive end in the first half, and honestly in the first 6 quarters of this series, non-existent. No rim protection. The rotations were weak. Just not very engaged, playing with no dog, no fire. But in the second half, he was hedging the screens, coming up, showing, and recovering. And I thought that it was a better look for Phoenix, especially with KD, Devin Booker, Ayton, and Craig out there. They have a lot of length. Chris Paul, he's a smaller guard, but he has really good heads. And I thought Ayton was playing pretty well, but then he got 2 fouls in the same possession, had to come out of the game with 4 fouls. And in that stretch, Zoo was playing so soft, complaining for fouls, losing the ball. And he started playing a little bit better when Biyombo came in. But the Suns, Devin Booker was just going nuts in that third quarter. 18 points, killing our drop coverage. But the thing is, on the drop, Zoo was in a shallow drop at times. He didn't even drop so deep. And he was shooting threes with his 7-footer's hand in his face. Like, come on. We need to give some credit to the shot making, too. Devin Booker, it was just amazing. Going both ways. I thought Terrence Mann, Nico, these guys, Kawhi even, still did a decent job of the rear view contest. But some of the shots were just great. Just great. And when Ayton's hitting those push shots, that makes it harder because you don't want to just fully throw 2 at him, because if you do, they'll hit him with that pocket pass, or in that short roll situation, he's going to hit the mid-range. I thought EJ made a couple of big threes in the third quarter to just kind of keep us in it so that they wouldn't just pull away. Nicholas Batum, though, struggling on Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant started hitting shots, making tough ones, again, going both ways, getting over screens, and even one-on-one, stopping on a dime and pulling. And Nicholas Batum, God bless him. I don't mind his defense. I think his defense is still pretty good overall. He's not going to do a great job one-on-one against KD, but who is? Other than that, though, his help defense, his rotations, his running guys off the line, his contests, they're all great. But he needs to be able to make shots. We've had 2 terrible three-point shooting games from Nico. He has been really up and down this season as far as 3 balls. So this does not surprise me, but up and down. So we've gotten the down. We need the up, and role players tend to shoot better at home. I expect Nico to, at the very least, we need him to shoot well in both games, but at the very least, one of them, he's going to have one of those, 3 for 4 from 3 games. But I just didn't think our role players were making enough threes, and everybody on the Suns was starting to hit shots. Torrey Craig was not missing. We're trying to funnel this ball into other guys. They're not missing. I think our defensive game plan, otherwise, especially like starters versus starters, is pretty good. At the end of the third quarter, they tried to put Bones in the pick and roll, and I thought Bones held his own. There was one time where he even got a block and threw the ball off of Booker, a la Russell Westbrook. But the Suns, they were the victors in the third quarter. They outscored the Clips 33-28. So they went into the fourth with a 5-point lead, which, again, going into the fourth with a 5-point deficit, I'll take that, especially when we're up 1-0. And that's when, they kind of made their run. Chris Paul started with 2 buckets. getting to his right in that pick and roll. Mason Plumlee, again, not really doing much, but just some good shots from CP. They went up 98-87. We called timeout. We went small. So put Kawhi in there with, I believe, Norman Powell, Russell Westbrook. But in my opinion, we didn't leave Terrence Mann out there long enough. I think that's one of my big criticisms in this game. If I was going to criticize anything about Ty Lue, I don't think we played Terrence Mann long enough, especially in a game where he was 4 for 4 from the field. But yeah, I want to see the small lineup that we brought in. So it was 98-87. Kawhi came in for Plumlee. So we had Kawhi, Terrence, Russ, Bones, and Eric in. So again, that's still 3 guards, 4 if you count Terrence Mann. That's still not really it. You really got to get either Nico out there or Rocco out there if you want to kind of try that look. It just forced too many, if you have Bones Highland against Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, like you're going to double. But I'm sorry, not Bones Highland. It was only Bones Highland for just a second. Then Eric Gordon came in for him. But, Eric Gordon, Kawhi, Eric Gordon, Kawhi, Russ, it wasn't it. You got to go bigger. We did. We put Zubats back in the game with 6:52 left, but we took Terrence Mann out instead of Eric Gordon, and I think that was a mistake. So, we still had a chance. We cut it down to 6, 115-109, and CP and DeAndre Ayton had successive buckets, and obviously one of them was on a Russ turnover, and the next turnover he had, CP3 made that step back. So we were down by 12, and that was basically it. So in conclusion, the role players need to step up. I think Ty Lue, so there's the adjustment, right? Do we want Zoo to hedge the screens? Because then he could have the corner turned on him, and he hasn't hedged ball screens all year. He's a drop big, and he's good at it, but these are fantastic mid-range players. So if Zoo's going to come hedge the screens, that's going to put us in 4-on-3 situations defending, and Torrey Craig has been making threes, and one of those players that's going to be open is going to be either KD or Book if they're not handling the ball. So that's going to be tough. And by the way, as the game went on, Kawhi was guarding KD a lot less, and they were trying to switch him off, and they were successful in doing so. So credit Monty Williams and the Suns. They made their adjustments. Now we got to make ours. Do we play Robert Covington as well? If we're going to go small like that, and we should consider it. If Mason is going to give us nothing, we should consider going small with Rocco. I love the idea of going Rocco, Kawhi, Terrence, Nico, and Russ. We can do that. Or instead of Nico, maybe Norm. Russ, Norm, Terrence, Kawhi, and Rocco. Maybe we can try that. But if Nico starts making threes, it would be great to have him out there because his defense is still good. So we'll see. We need everybody to step up individually, though, as far as the role players. That's the biggest thing. But let me read the stat lines for this game. For the Phoenix Suns first. Off the bench, there's not really much to say. They only had 13 points. Bismack Biyombo had 6 of them, 5 rebounds on 3 for 5 shooting in 15 minutes. Josh Okogie, I said we'd get more of him, but we didn't really. But he did play better. 7 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists, and also 0 turnovers. 2 for 4 shooting and 1 for 2 from 3. The Clippers, by the way, turned the ball over 15 times. The Suns 11, so they did a better job taking care of the ball. Probably a couple turnovers less could have helped the Clips there. Landry Shamet came in for 14 minutes, and again was Landry Sham. Did nothing. A donut. As for the starters, as I said, 110 points combined between the 5. Torrey Craig, 17 points, 2 steals on 6 for 9 shooting and 5 for 8 from 3 in 32 minutes. He is playing amazing right now. He's never played basketball this well, and I am convinced of that at the NBA level. DeAndre Ayton, 14 points and 13 boards, a solid game for him. Easy double-double, 7 for 10 from the field, 70%. So, again, I always think that they should get Ayton more involved. But they don't really like doing that, and it's going to be even harder with these 3 other guys. Chris Paul, a really good second half for him, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, and then CP3 fashion, taking care of the ball, only 1 turnover, 8 for 14 from the field and 0 for 1 from deep. And the one he shot, I was happy with the defense on that one. We helped off KD and let Chris Paul shoot a catch-and-shoot 3 because we didn't want KD just pulling for the mid-range over someone and forced to miss. As far as Booker and Durant, KD with 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists to go along with a steal and 2 blocks. But he also turned the ball over 5 times. So of the 11 Suns turnovers, 5 came from easy money sniper. So we'll take that. But he was 10 for 19 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3, 2 wide open threes missed in the fourth quarter for KD, which were very uncharacteristic. But he also played 44 minutes. So I'll take that. He played well. He did what he took to win. But he played a lot of minutes, so I'll take that as a Clipper fan. Devin Booker was the Suns' best player and probably the player of the game overall tonight. 38 points and 9 assists on 14 for 22 shooting, 4 for 7 from deep, and 6 for 6 from the line. The Suns were 13 for 14 from the foul line, and that's not even that many free throws. Part of it's because they don't get to the basket at all. It's all mid-ranges, really. As for the Clippers, we actually were 28 for 31 from the line. So a really good foul shooting night. Zubac missed 2 of the free throws, 4 for 6 for him. Russ, 8 for 8 from the line. So we'll take that all day long. Man, it feels like I feel like my stream is completely lagging right now. It's looking so slow because my computer is burning up. But I know that the sound still sounds good. So Spotify and Apple Podcast people, I apologize for saying that stuff so much. But Devin Booker, 38 points, 9 assists on 14 for 22 shooting, 4 for 7 from 3, and 6 for 6 from the line. This was, by the way, also Scott Foster. The streak ended. The Chris Paul, Scott Foster reffing streak. He was what? I believe it's 27-2. 2-27 with Scott Foster reffing in the playoffs in Chris Paul's career. The only 2 wins were one against Dallas in 2008, and then 2013, our game against Memphis, game 1, where we beat them pretty handedly. So he broke that streak in this one. But let's see. As for the Clippers, Bones Highland was the least played bench player. He played 14 minutes. He had 6 points on 2 for 7 shooting and 0 for 4 from deep. He was +2. I like his defense so far, but he needs to make shots, especially the 3-ball, because he's getting open looks. Mason Plumlee played 14 minutes, had 2 points and 2 boards, 0 for 0 from the field, and a turnover. Nothing there. Terrence Mann Nico Batum played 19 minutes. He was 0 for 4 with a donut. Need more from Nico. All 4 threes missed. Needs to be better. Terrence Mann, 26 minutes, 10 points, 2 rebounds, 3 for 3 from the field. Absolutely needs to play more than that, especially when he's shooting well. And the defense that he was playing on Chris Paul, and considering Chris Paul went off a little bit at the end. So that's no good. Need to adjust there. Playoff Terrence Mann. Come on, Ty. How about Norman Powell? I said 18 to 20 points we need from him. It hasn't been there. 12 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, and 2 steals on 4 for 11 shooting and 0 for 3 from deep. He was also 4 for 4 from the line. The one thing with Norm, his 3-ball has really lagged behind since he's come back. Even in those 3 games before the season ended, he was playing really well. He has not hit the 3. He shot like 37% this year from there. He needs to hit that. He needs to. I mean, because that's what he does. He hits 3s. How about the other starters? Ivica Zubac, thought he was poor. Nothing like game 1. 8 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, 3 turnovers on 2 for 7 from the field, 4 for 6 from the line in 29 minutes. EJ, no good. 12 points on 4 for 12 from the field, 4 for 9 from deep, though, so he shot well from 3. And then Russ, 28 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 3 turnovers. Both of them were pretty crucial. But 9 for 16 from the field, very efficient. 2 for 3 from deep and 8 for 8 from the line. That's amazing. I'll take that all day from Russ. In 36 minutes, and then Kawhi, another really good game. Both ends of the floor. 31 points, 8 rebounds. Just seems to get to every loose ball with those hands. 7 assists, 3 steals, 3 turnovers, though, so not great there. But 11 for 20 from the field. I'll take that 55% all day. 3 for 5 from deep. Just everything seems to be going in. 6 for 7 from the line. But the Clippers overall lose it 123-109. The series is tied 1-1 going back to LA. Clipper Nation, we are going to need everything. Okay, I'm going to be in attendance. That is going to be the vlog. The playoff vlogs are back. We need it to be like 2015. We're going to need to do everything we can to help get this team over the finish line. And, they're going to need all the help they can get. They really are. We need to defend home court. Both of these games are must wins. Both. We need to get them both, go up 3-1, and then make them squirm. Do I think that's going to happen? No, because we haven't been a good home team. So I think it's going to be a split. But let's just focus on one game at a time. Game 3, we need to win, and we need everybody to be fucking loud. The Clippers shot 44% from the field overall, but 37% from 3, which sounds good, but it just wasn't it. 11 for 30, but it just wasn't it to me. The Suns shot 59% from the field, 42% from 3, and 93% from the line. They were pretty amazing overall. But next, I am going to go to the Cavs and the Knicks. It was a really terrible game, honestly. extremely one-sided. And I'm going to be talking about that in a second. For the audio people, you're just going to hear it right now. But for the people listening on YouTube, I'm going to let my computer cool down a sec before I come back. All right, hold on one second, guys. It's going to go black for a sec, but do not go anywhere. I'm just letting it cool down. All right, we back? Cool. No, I did it on purpose, fool. All right, we good. So the Cavs and the Knicks, obviously a must-win game for the Cleveland Cavaliers. This was just one of those games where the seed that already got what they came for was content. They were like, we got the split. They were completely outworked. The Cavs played with a level of desperation that the Suns didn't show until the second half. They showed it from second one. And the Knicks didn't match their intensity. They didn't match their physicality. They didn't match their hustle. And the only time they actually did was like in the first quarter, Julius Randle made a shot. They were only down by 3, 25-22. But after that, it was all Cleveland. And in the second quarter, the Cavs outscored the Knicks 34-17. And they was led by Darius Garland. I got to give Donovan Mitchell credit. He let Darius Garland eat. He only had like 4 shot attempts in the first half or something along those lines. For a while, it was only 3 or 4 shot attempts. Darius Garland got in his bag. He was mixing dudes in the pick and roll. And RJ Barrett, he was putting him on skates a little bit too. Darius Garland, that's the Darius Garland we remember from last season. He's probably shown that a lot this season too. But it's obviously come at a bit of a sacrifice because of Donovan Mitchell. But you saw Donovan Mitchell sacrifice in this game, and it was awesome. And before they made that run, though, I got something to say about Evan Mobley. His defense on Randle is amazing. His shot contesting, his lateral movement, it's so great. But when he gets the ball in those 4-on-3 situations, because you saw the Cavs, when they put Randle in the pick and roll, he hedges those screens. So they get a lot of those 4-on-3 situations that Garland and Mitchell put Evan Mobley in. And Evan Mobley kind of gets caught in between. He doesn't know whether to lob it up to Jared Allen because Mitchell Robinson's so athletic, or go up strong, and he's not been really going up strong. He's going up weak, and Robinson, he had a stretch in that second quarter before the Knicks exploded where he was making defensive play after defensive play, block, a stop at the rim. I mean, he had 4 blocks in this game. And then when he came out of the game, things kind of started to collapse. And Karis LeVert in this game, they needed him to step up, and they got that from him. He was getting in his pick and roll, getting in the in-between game, knocking down shots, going one-on-one, knocking down the 3-ball, giving them what they needed. And also, the Cavaliers, it was 13-11 in favor of the Knicks in the offensive glass. But if you were watching the game, it didn't feel that way. It felt like Cleveland was dominating the boards. It felt like they were getting more impactful offensive rebounds. And they were just first to every loose ball. And Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, they really were defending in this game. They were moving their feet. Darius Garland took a couple of charges. They were causing turnovers. And you had Donovan making hustle plays, diving on the floor. You got to love the energy of the Cavs. They knew the occasion. The crowd was great, and they cruised. And Darius Garland was just dominant. I talked about Evan Mobley. He was not finishing around the basket, but when they were putting Mitchell Robinson in drop coverage, Garland was doing a good job in the mid-range, hitting his floater, hitting the midi. And then they started to put Jalen Brunson in the pick and roll, and they didn't want to switch Jalen Brunson onto Garland or Mitchell. And they started getting some good action out of that short roll. So it was just flowing on all cylinders. Obviously, I think with Garland and Mitchell, it can be very take-turnsy. Each of them take turns running pick and roll. But the fact that they can both spot up and shoot off of each other is a huge plus. And you saw that tonight with Cleveland. I also thought, Jared Allen was doing his thing. Evan Mobley was doing his thing. What they're going to do is, I'm surprised they didn't, I think what they're doing is they made a little adjustment. They were hedging the screens instead of dropping because Jalen Brunson is so great in that in-between game. They're just like, let's just get the ball out of his hands. And it was kind of messing with Jalen Brunson a bit. Kind of took him out of his rhythm. And Mitchell Robinson is extremely uncomfortable in those 4-on-3 situations. He doesn't know when to dribble. He's not confident shooting or going up with anything. So look for the Cavs to do that again at the Garden, is keep hedging those screens with Brunson, getting the ball out of his hands. Because Robinson's not quick enough off the bounce in those short rolls. They can get back and recover with him. And then as far as, putting Mobley in the pick and roll, I remember him dropping a little bit more. But, the Cavs, they're going to fly around on defense all day long. And the Knicks are going to have to make their outside shots. And I think and in this game they didn't, 7 for 29 from three, 24%, whereas the Cavs shot 42% from three, 14 for 33. So it was just a case of them rolling on all cylinders and the Knicks not really trying very hard, not really playing with that competitive fire. And when you do that, you give a team a lot of confidence. So don't be surprised if Cleveland wins game 3. I got the Cavs in 7 in this series. I think the Knicks totally gave them more confidence than they needed to. They didn't make them work for this win at all. And the weirdest part is Julius Randle, who, by the way, was awful in this game. He was totally panicking, a huge reason why they got outscored 34-17 in that second quarter. And by the way, the Cavs only outscored the Knicks by 2 in the third, but there was no push from New York. Their defense was okay, but they couldn't score. And Cleveland's defense was just so sharp. It was exactly showing why they're the number 1 defense. But I also think the Knicks' offense was putrid. Julius Randle, he needs to stop going one-on-one against Evan Mobley. If he wants to go one-on-one against Evan Mobley, he needs to back him down, not, face up, do 3 jab steps and shoot a step back 18-footer. Like, you're not that guy, dude. And the more he thinks that, the more the Knicks are going to suffer, because the ball in Jalen Brunson's hands is when the Knicks are best, and they need to honestly lean heavier into Brunson being super ball dominant. And I would honestly put Mobley in the pick and roll with Randle setting the screen and just counter with that. Put him in pick and pop actions a lot more in New York. That would be my big adjustment. Now, granted, I wasn't really watching the game from a Knicks perspective. I was watching it from a Cavs perspective because they had to win. And I think Cleveland passed everything with flying colors. Thought they were awesome. Can't really complain in any facet, any category if you're a Cavs fan there. They did what they needed to do. But for the Knicks, you just didn't play well in any way. Julius Randle is just so reckless and forces things so much. I mean, he needs to be smarter. You saw him play great in game 1. In this one, he was awful. And there were a couple times defensively where he just let guys get by him. Ole defense in the playoffs. And if you do that in New York, you're going to hear the boo birds. But the Cavs smacking the shit out of the Knicks, 107-90 at the Q. And I'm not going to call it Rocket Mortgage. I'm going to call it the Q. Of course, the Cavs, one of the best home teams in the league, 31-10 over there. So the fact that the Knicks got the split, at the end of the day, they are still in the upper hand going into game 3. They got what they came for. I also think Knicks fans are overreacting. Shout out to my boy All Ball. All Ball was stressing out. He's like, no, man, we got to get the W, man. We got to go up 2-0. But I'll tell you, All Ball, you got the W, 1-1, going back to New York. They got some of the best home court advantage in the league. It's going to be the first sold-out Knicks playoff game since 2013, Game 5 against the Pacers. It is going to be rocking in the Garden. So please don't lose hope and don't be too mad. I would be a little mad, though, that they made it so easy, but Jalen Brunson didn't have a good game. I expect him to bounce back. Let's read the lines for the New York Knickerbockers. They went 9 deep. Also adjustment. Deuce McBride. He is their best guard defender besides Josh Hart to me. He needs to play more, because there was one possession at the end of the third quarter where he locked Garland up, and then he just didn't see the floor much. 3 minutes played for Deuce. He needs to play, in my opinion, which would force them to go 10 deep. And I'll tell you who needs his minutes cut. I'll get to it in a second. But Emmanuel quickly. Actually, let's go to Obi Toppin first. Obi Toppin played 15 minutes, 7 points, 3 for 8 from the field, 1 for 4 from deep. Nothing there, in my opinion. Mitchell Robinson only played 21 minutes. I think, we were talking about it with some of my New York guys, and they were saying that his defense, I'm not sorry, his stamina. His stamina is not the best. He doesn't really play that many minutes, and it sucks because he really is an amazing rim protector, and he's a very good offensive rebounder. He needs to be able to play more. 2 points, 5 boards, 4 blocks, but only 1 for 2 and in 21 minutes only. Obviously, this game, he played less because the game was pretty much decided. But that being said, this dude Tibbs, I can't forget this, left Julius Randle in the game when they were down 26 points, and he got injured. Tibbs has a history with just overworking his players and just being weird and just being a little too militant. If he's actually hurt, and he suffers in his play or doesn't play in game 3, then like just there's no excuse for Tibbs, man. It's ridiculous to have him out there down 20. Quentin Grimes, he's been very quiet in my opinion in the first 2 games. I thought he did well enough defensively in the first game, but in this game he gave nothing. 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 0 for 2 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. All his points are foul shots, nothing there. As far as Emmanuel Quickly, the guy that I've had the favorite for 6th man of the year I picked, his field goal percentage looks good, but I don't remember those points at all. I don't think he's been very effective the first 2 games. 12 points, 4 for 8 from the field, 1 for 4 from deep, 3 for 4 from the line. Just not much from IQ. Josh Hart, not a good game compared to the one he had the other day. 5 points, 4 boards, 2 for 3 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3 in 27 minutes. He was a team worst minus 29. I don't think that says that he was by far the worst player or anything like that. Just, I mean, he didn't have much success on the court. Let's put it that way. Isaiah Hartenstein, not much there either. 4 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Remember, he had a nice and one in 27 minutes of play. He was 2 for 6 from the field. And then the other starters for the Knicks, the big 3, so to speak. We got to have a conversation about R.J. Barrett. Fabian was right by saying that he maybe should be a 6th man for this team because he's not playing well enough to start right now. And I think they're going to leave him in the starting lineup because you don't want to take his confidence away, especially going back to New York. But this guy averages 20 points a game. He has played terribly in the first couple of games. He's not doing enough defensively to make up for his shitty offense. He can't make shots. He has no bag still. And, I mean, he's just not scoring at all. He doesn't look confident. And right now, he's looking like the B word. Not the cuss word, the other word in reference to drafts. He's really looking like that. This is his 4th season. Come on. He's averaging 20 points. And first of all, averaging 20 points and not shooting that well. But at least get your 20 points. He ain't doing that. Right now, Josh Hart, I mean, he played better in game 1. And Deuce McBride should get some of RJ's minutes. 14 points on 4 for 13 shooting. 0 for 3 from deep. 6 of his 14 points were at the foul line where he was good there. 6 for 7. And then Jalen Brunson, just not a good game for him. 20 points, but 9 of them were free throws. He was 9 for 10 from the line. He also had 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals. But the Knicks, by the way, were turning the ball over way too much. 17 turnovers, and the Cavs completely took advantage of them, just like the Knicks took advantage of their turnovers in Cleveland. It was the exact opposite. In game 1. It was the exact opposite. Offensive glass, turnovers. That's what the Knicks won game 1. That's what the Cavs won game 2, and obviously the 3-point shooting. Jalen Brunson, 20 points, 5 boards, 6 assists, 4 steals on 5 for 17 shooting, so under 33%, 1 for 8 from deep, so just not a good night for Brunson. And then Julius Randle, 22 points, 8 boards, 6 turnovers, 8 for 20 from the field, 40%, 3 for 3, 3 for 3 from the line. Shot decently. I mean, 40% is not very good, actually, but it wasn't horrendous. I mean, shot better than Brunson, but he was just terrible. The 6 turnovers. Going to need a lot better from everybody for that Knicks game. And I think that's just the worst game they're going to play all series. Unless they're up 3-1 and then game 5 they do the same shit, maybe. But that's it for me tonight, guys. Thanks for listening. There's going to be timestamps. If you only wanted to listen to one part of it, like if you only came from the Knicks side, it'll be there. Make sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts if you enjoyed. And obviously we'll be live again on Wednesday night after the Laker game. And then, of course, after the Minnesota-Denver game. I will be also talking about the Celtics-Hawks game 2. Probably not going to be able to talk about the Heat Bucks, but if you're lucky, maybe I'll just go live a little bit later, and I'll talk about every single game. And yes, I will be going to game 3, and you will be getting a vlog, a playoff vlog. Section 208 I'll be in. Shout out to all my Clipper fans going. Please, if you do not lose your voice or have a change in your voice at the end of that game, you do not do enough, Clipper Nation. But I'll see you tomorrow night. And now I'm going to go to the live subscribers waiting patiently in the chat. Super chats are turned on if you want to drop $1 or a dime. Peace. What's up, guys? Let's see what we got. Crypto Mike says, hey there, glad to be here. Man, sucks we didn't get the win.